There has been something in the air recently that I feel like I can only pinpoint as intense boredom. I used to doom scroll, and 50% of it would be, kind of helpful. And then the other 50% of it would just be sacrificed to the algorithm gods. And yet now when I doom scroll, I am not satisfied in pretty much anything that I'm watching. And us humans, we don't like to be bored. We like to create, we like to innovate, we like to connect with others, connect with things, and yet we haven't been doing that recently. We long to feel connected to the world that we once knew. We long to have new connections and deeper friendships, find real purpose, create something of meaning, or rediscover old hobbies. And before we dive into today's topic of doom scrolling and the culture and the news that have to do with that and what we can do to combat that, I want to talk about an event that I attended because this blew my mind. This was a charity event, and they outlined all of the things that were going good in our county and all of the things that were struggling in our county. But one of their main concerns was kids that weren't reading anymore, and adults that weren't reading or teaching kids how to read and how to be literate. Apparently those numbers have been dropping for quite a while in our county, and I looked up a different article, and this is titled Americans Reading Fewer Books on Average by Gallup. And essentially it just says the same thing, that we used to read more books and now we're reading fewer books. And also reading as a hobby is just no more. I know from my personal experience and others, I have seen that I will pick up a book and I will be so extremely interested to read the book, and then I will be halfway through and I'm like, I'm good. And I used to be able to finish the books like that. And now it's hard for me to pay attention. It's hard for me to focus. And it's hard for me to have the attention span for that anymore. We have these hopes, we have these dreams and desires for more, and yet we seem to sacrifice all of our extra time to the algorithm gods. And that is what we're talking about today. Because no worries, you guys. Guess who's coming to save the day? Apparently TikTok. TikTok is coming to save the day, coming to save our attention spans, and coming to combat doom scrolling. So on Thursday, TikTok announced a new option, a nightly in-app guided meditation exercise that is turned on by default for users under 18. So they're really tackling the teen epidemic here, okay? At 10 p.m., their For You page is overtaken by a blue screen and relaxing music, and the user is guided through an inhale, exhale exercise, so a breathing exercise, essentially. The idea is that after the meditation is over, you put your phone down, says Dr. Willow Jenkins, a child psychiatrist who shares mental health-related content on the app. TikTok enlisted Dr. Jenkins as a paid partner to help promote this initiative. So, while I don't know if any kid in the world is going to breathe in and out and then turn off the app, at least they're understanding that there's some sort of doom scrolling epidemic happening. And although I think it's literally all of us that need to be better at our digital wellness, I do like that they're putting an emphasis on kids. Because kids and social media, I just don't think they should mix anymore. I really don't. I can't see one singular reason a kid, especially under like 16, should have a social media account. Go see friends in real life. Go hang out. Go play in the dirt. Go build a fort. Build a pillow fort or a fort outside. That's what I did when I was a kid. I was barefoot. I drank from the hose. And yeah, I made potions and all of those things. And I just don't know if kids are doing that anymore. Granted, I don't have children. So if you are a parent and you are watching this, I understand how hard it can be, and I commend you for your work and your sacrifice to bring children into this world. But the irony is incredibly funny to me, and just think about this. You build an app so incredibly addictive that then you are turning around and giving the cure for that app. You are realizing that you need to actually put parameters on the app because of how addictive it is. I don't know. Good job. Now, this is being rolled out after the platform faces widespread allegations that it is knowingly harming users' mental health. This includes a raft of lawsuits filed on October by 13 states and the District of Columbia, accusing TikTok of creating an internationally addictive app that harmed children and teenagers while making false claims to the public about its commitment to safety. And yeah, Exactly as I said, while I appreciate that they're paying attention to this a little bit more, I don't know if they're doing it willingly or if they're doing it because of the lawsuits and the conversations that we are starting to have about screen time and doom scrolling as a whole. And let me just get real here for a second. I have personally struggled day in and day out with doom scrolling, with wasting my time, with ruminating on things that don't actually matter, or watching news stories that don't actually matter. And while I do find incredible value in technology and AI and all of these things that are coming, I do think we need to start really paying attention to how we are spending our time, who we're spending our time digitally with online, the connections that we are making offline, and everything in between. Because if we don't rein this in now, I truly don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. Just to lighten things up a little bit, I needed to show you guys this meme, this TikTok that I saw that basically encompasses how I feel with my struggle of doom scrolling.
Before you send me that meme, before you send me that TikTok, before you send me that DM, before you send me that picture of those new shoes, I most likely have already seen it. Look at my screen time. I need help.
Yeah, if that doesn't encompass what I have thought in the past, I don't know what does. And truly, if you guys want a little bit of a tip before we get into what we can do about this, tell your friends to stop sending you stuff, okay? My husband used to send me reels all day, every single day, and I would do the same to him. And it's no hate, no shade to him. I would do the same thing, and yet over time, I've asked people to stop sending me stuff, especially when I delete the apps off my phone, because then they send it to me over text and then it's really hard to do, okay? And I will say there is something to be said with kids and social media and being on social media as a whole. You feel like you're missing out on something when you're not on social media constantly, especially when I'm doing something like this. I'm commenting on culture and news. I'm trying to keep up to date with AI and how it's going to possibly steal all of our jobs. And I will talk about that in a later episode. So if you haven't already subscribed, you know what to do below. But I do want to talk about how you feel like you're missing out until you log into the app and then you check all the things and then you're like, oh, I really didn't miss out on anything. But your brain makes you think you're missing out because we are social creatures by design, which I think is a beautiful thing. But that is getting hijacked because we long for connection. We long to feel included on the inside jokes, included on the discussions. And yeah, I don't know how much of that is worth it anymore. Quite frankly, sometimes I think I want to move to the countryside in a little cottage, turn off all of my devices forever, and live on the land. Although I would probably last about 2 weeks tops. So I just want to ask you now. This is no judgment whatsoever, but as we get into the science of doom scrolling and what you can do to help this, do you feel like you're spending your time wisely on this floating rock in space with your one life that you have? Because recently I have decided that I have not been spending my time wisely, and I want to change that. I want to be able to use my voice to help people through transitions. I want to be able to create more than I consume. So just sit with that for a second. Don't judge yourself. Just a little bit of an audit. Do you feel like you've been spending your time wisely? And if not, what are some things that you can do to change that? What is one thing that maybe you could help? And that actually reminds me of this Mary Oliver quote. And if you guys don't know who Mary Oliver is, she is an incredible poet. And this is one poem that is just so beautiful. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass and the one who is eating sugar out of my hand. Who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down. Who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and be blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last, and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? With the age of technology and AI and social media, and now we think about AGI and possible artificial superintelligence and all of the things that are going to flood your day-to-day life. I think if we don't rein these things in and really talk about these things, they're going to hijack what is true to you. They're going to hijack your drive and dopamine levels, because if you don't know what dopamine is, it essentially is your motivation, your chemical that makes you do things over and over, all right? So if you're scrolling on the internet and you have floods of dopamine into your brain's telling you, oh, it likes that and it wants to do it again. And I actually want to show you this one clip from Dr. K. If you don't know who he is, he's called The Healthy Gamer. He talks all about this. So if you want to really get into the nitty-gritty science of it, I really encourage you to listen to him. But this is a clip that I think kind of encompasses what I'm talking about.
There's a really interesting set of research on something called online drift, which is that anytime you click on something on a platform, you get engaged with an algorithm. And what happens with these algorithms is that over time, the emotional engagement, the dopaminergic engagement will build up a tolerance. So I'll give you all just a simple example. When you watch a video on the internet, how many times in a row do you watch it? If you want to spend an hour scrolling on the internet, do you watch the same video over and over and over again for an hour? Of course not. That is crazy, Dr. K. What the hell are you talking about? I never watch something more than once. Why? Because there is a tolerance to a signal that develops. So in order to avoid that tolerance, you need a stronger signal. And this is what the internet has discovered. They're not trying to be nefarious. What they realize is if you're a liberal, you'll get some crazy conservative echo chamber content every now and then, or even a lot, because the platforms have learned if we can piss you off, you're not going to move to a different platform. This is online drift.
Yeah. And I love that he highlights the echo chamber problem, because yes, I feel like most of you probably know about how doom scrolling is hijacking your attention and your dopamine center and all of those things, but nobody really touches on the echo chamber. They know what's going to piss you off. They know what's going to gain your attention. There are allegedly, I need to look this up and maybe we'll do another episode on this, but there are signs that point to that they track your eyes and how they dilate when you're looking on your screen, how long you stay on something versus when you swipe. The data is mountains of data they're learning, okay? So when it comes to doom scrolling, they're only going to get better when it comes to this, okay? They're only going to have more data, especially if you're unaware how it works. So whether you're a liberal or you're a Republican or you're black, you're white, you're Latino, whatever, okay, they are going to feed you exactly what it is that will either piss you off or will put you into this box and just feed you that content over and over again and not look at another side, okay? That is something I've noticed, especially when I started my research on all of this, is like, I need to go actively look at other sides of things now. It's not just fed to me because it's just going to feed me what it thinks I like or what I'm going to react to. And it's the same thing with Googling something. Like you could Google any type of bias you want when you're trying to look up a paper or an opinion or whatever. But it's really important to, one, do your own research when it comes to all of this, but also like look at the other sides of issues and problems and just understand when it comes to doom scrolling, they know exactly how to reel you in. So this is the time to be disciplined. Just have a bigger why for your life other than sitting and doom scrolling. And I don't want to be preachy. This is coming from the heart. So I hope you hear this and feel this because I'm talking to myself and giving myself advice as well. But create a vision for your life, something you want to live for, something you want to do, something you want to create. Create more than you consume on these apps and platforms that want to reel you in. And I actually wanted to touch on this quote by Andrew Huberman because when it comes to doom scrolling, this is something that I have noticed in my own life. He talks about addiction right here and he says, addiction is a progressive narrowing of the things that bring you pleasure. Happiness is a progressive expansion of the things that bring you pleasure. The former emerges passively, the latter takes work. When it comes to hobbies and all the things that I used to do all the time and now I barely look at or do anymore, I feel like it's a form of addiction because it's a progressive narrowing. There are so many things to do in my life, and yet I have narrowed it down to screen time. Whatever way it is, whatever way you slice it, I have narrowed my happiness down. So instead, we need to find pleasure and expansion with it. I think that is such a good quote. Find something that you're excited to wake up for and work on, whatever project it is. It doesn't even have to make money or make you successful or famous or whatever. Like, I think doom scrolling only truly happens over and over again because we don't have a bigger why for our life. We don't have a bigger vision. And so when we're done with work or when we just want a little bit of alone time, we always resort to the screen. But I feel like if you can craft a life, craft a vision for yourself that's stronger than the doom scroll and the algorithms and all of these things, like that is how you're going to get out of this trap. Truly, I want this to be more of a conversation. What do you guys think is going to happen in the future? How do you guys feel right now? A comment below your screen time or whatever. I just want this to be a conversation for anybody that is feeling the way that I'm feeling. And also, if you like this type of video, let me know. Let me know what other things I should touch on. And yeah, it is time to take our time back and use it more wisely for this one wild and precious life that we have. And until next time, bye.